Hi, everyone. My name is Matt Shed, a DeKalb resident and the new host of Shakira's Corner. As a DeKalb resident, I'm very excited to help bring you updates from Commissioner Chakira Johnson about what's going on in DeKalb County and specifically District 4. I'll tell you a little bit about myself real quickly. I have a background working as a journalist in public radio and hosting and producing podcasts for the Peabody Awards, WebMD, and various nonprofits. And I'm honored to be joining you as the host of this podcast. So, this is a show where we discuss pertinent agenda items from the Board of Commissioner meetings with Commissioner Chakira Johnson, as well as share community updates from District 4 of DeKalb County. In addition to serving on the Board of Commissioners, Commissioner Johnson is also a member of 3 county committees: the FAB Committee, which handles finance, audit, and budget; the ERPS Committee, which handles employment relations and public safety; and the PWI Committee, the Public Works and Infrastructure Committee. DeKalb County CEO Lorraine Cochran-Johnson hosted a Board of Commissioners retreat in March of this year. And out of that retreat, Commissioner Johnson solidified her 5 focus areas, which are housing, infrastructure development, youth development, Memorial Drive revitalization, and services for new Americans. And today, we are thrilled to welcome DeKalb County CEO Lorraine Cochran-Johnson as our special guest. I'll be facilitating a conversation between the two of them on issues relevant to DeKalb residents and District 4 specifically. So welcome, Madam CEO, to our podcast, to Shakira's Corner.
Well, I'm excited to be here, Matt, and I just learned a little bit more about you. I'm in good hands. This is exciting to be on Shakira's Corner, and I always enjoy speaking with her and talking with her about issues. So I'm very excited.
We're
Absolutely.
excited to have you, Madam CEO. You are our first guest on the podcast, and we definitely wanted the CEO to be our first guest. So we were just thrilled that you accepted the invitation and that you are here.
That's very kind of you. I'm excited to be the first. It's in feelings. And it's such a time as this. There's a lot to be done, and I'm excited that we have a great team of people. Like you, we're both new technically in our roles, but
Yeah.
neither of us are new to government, and that's exciting. So happy to be here.
Awesome. All right, should we dive in?
Well, let's get to it.
All right. So we're going to start talking about housing, which is, as I mentioned just a few moments ago, is one of Commissioner Johnson's focus areas. So could you all speak about plans to better support people who are experiencing homelessness and also living with mental illness, since we know the two coincide often?
So I think this might be a really good time to start talking about the Park 500 project that you were able to spearhead, Madam CEO, and bring forward. The Board of Commissioners unanimously approved that. But I'm also super excited because it is in District 4, and by the BOC approving it and giving it general fund money, we're able to provide wraparound services that typically we can't. So your thoughts on it? How's it going? Can you give us an update on that one?
Let me say that our and this isn't our thing because
Mhm.
it were votes, but it was a unanimous vote. Technically, government is not the business of housing. We deliver essential services. We're responsible for your water, for your sewer, for sanitation, for um, roads and resurfacing. That's the space that we occupy. We, are the front line to municipal codes. But over the years and now more than ever, we are seeing an increased need for housing. And for us, we are filling that gap. And I'm very proud to say that our administration has DeKalb County's first chief housing officer. And I'd say now that he's at least 60 days in. Dr. Alan Ferguson is highly respected and he knows what he's doing. So we are being very strategic on how. And Part 500 was our first rollout. And it was the acquisition of 60 townhomes that could be used for rapid housing. And we worked with the DeKalb County Housing Authority to provide wraparound services. Because to be honest, the federal government is going where DeKalb is already gone.
I think it's really important to know too just how important and unique it was for us to use our general fund money in this way so that not only can we help these individuals transition out of homelessness, but we can provide them with the services that they need to stay off the street. Financial help they may need and mental help they may need. When community development is dealing with these issues, but they're dealing with it for federal dollars, they can't provide these services, these wraparound services. So I know I've mentioned this a few times about wanting to see more general fund dollars going to community development departments, but it's for these reasons so that we can provide the services that we know our constituents need, which are wraparound services.
Yes, and let me say it not enough to just give a person shelter, particularly when there are additional needs. And, right now with October 1st being the rollout of our federal budget, technically for the fiscal year for the Trump administration, um, there's concerns there because if you read Project 2025, it requires that individuals who have received Section 8 housing under HUD for 2 years to term out. And right now we're exploring things because sitting where I sit, DeKalb County has over 17,000 housing vouchers. Thankfully, they track age because under the new plan, the only way to remain in public housing beyond 2 years is if you are 65 years or older, or if you are disabled. And we estimate at this point that about 40% of individuals, if the plan rolls out, no longer qualifies. And with what we're doing, what makes us unique, and I'm very thankful that as a board of commissioners, we wraparound services, because even on the federal level, there should have been a plan to transition through wraparound services. But to have a hard cutoff will create inherent problems for us all. So Park 500 was our first rollout. Currently, we are exploring housing, the development of a housing shelter. And this is very important with October 1st, very close. Because we're not exactly sure what that looks like. All I know is we read and we interpret what's written as it's written. And at any given time, based upon the plan that is to be implemented, it could have significant implications. Beyond creating affordable housing, we're looking right now at marketplace housing, as well as workforce housing. Because those are all important areas for us as well. Because, a study that we conducted in 2023 that was completed in 2024 determined that DeKalb County had lagged behind in the region for the development of housing, period. So I want to be clear, it isn't just about affordable, but we want affordability. It's also about marketplace as well as workforce, creating pockets where our first responders, our educators, our everyone within the public sector may have access to housing, because that is really important. Particularly, too, we're having a lot of success with our officers receiving housing as well as a part of workforce housing, and their presence has an intrinsic value that is very important.
And that's a good point to make. We had a special called PEX meeting yesterday, and Dr. Ferguson presented brilliant. I'm so glad that you added him to the team. But one of the charts he provided shows that our development of new houses, right, at least in 2024, is at a volume lower or at least equal to where we were during COVID. So
Mhm.
that, like, we've gone up, but now we've gone back down to COVID times. And so clearly we're not going to be able to fill that gap if we're not increasing the amount of housing units that we're bringing online and the mix of housing units, as you mentioned. is also important. So I'm glad to hear that we're also working on shelter. I do think we need to have that shelter. So I know that's a long range conversation. It's not happening overnight because you got to figure out how to fund it, where to put it, and all the pieces in between. So just happy that the conversation.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And let me say that this is a very complicated problem. And at the same time, we're also promoting, and I'm very excited because we have two events coming up. One is with NACA, and it's a 3-day event designed to create home owners. And there is no minimum credit score. What we're looking at is where you are to transition you into home ownership. Because also with the rollout of Project 2025, HUD funding, and many people have HUD loans. Um, it really erodes it. So I don't want the American dream, and that's what our parents called it, to become a dream deferred. And I'm very fearful that new and young people, because I'm the mother of the 25-year-old, will not have access to home ownership. So creating programs, because what we find is when there's no home ownership, often there is no wealth.
Yeah.
So have to encourage home ownership. We need bridge programs. We need education, and we need financial dignity training. Because honestly, I'm seeing the divide between those who have and those who have access and those who do not. And that's very concerning. We should not be living in a society where it's more increasingly difficult to obtain home loans and have access. And also, too, that goes into the rising property values. All of us, I won't put you mad. I hope you're a DeKalb resident, but,
He is.
I am proudly.
great. And let me say that many of us who have homes, if we were to sell our own home today, we couldn't afford to buy it back.
I could
That's
not.
the
I
yeah.
could not.
And we have to also concern ourselves when we talk about housing with LLCs, Wall Street, and private investors. Because it
Yes.
was about 4 years ago that I rung the bell on that during COVID, when I realized we had a waiting list of over 60,000 people who could indicate, I need affordable housing. I can't afford to live. So we have to also, this is bigger than this as well. It also goes through legislation and legislators. Because currently, Georgia does not have a rental rate cap. So during COVID, for 2 years in a row, in 2020, we saw rental rates increase by 21%, and in 2022 by an additional 20. A 42% increase in the cost of housing is not sustainable. It is not logical. You didn't see the income of regular people. There's no one probably a part of this conversation whose income increased by 40%. So how do you
Absolutely.
do that to people and say that allow the market to dictate? If you look carefully at New York, California, DC, Philadelphia, those cities all have rental rate caps. They cap at a 5% incremental increase for a property owner year over year. But in the state of Georgia, we decided let the market handle itself. I'm for a free market. I'm not here to hinder economic success for business owners, but I also want to be realistic about the landscape that we create and the implications, because we are creating, in some instances, a working homeless class. That study in 2023 done by Ernst & Young found that for an individual who earns minimum wage to afford a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment in metro Atlanta, they needed to work 140 hours a week.
And that's not realistic at all.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. Oh, there's
no.
so many follow-up questions I have, but we have since we've got you here, Madam CEO, we got a lot that we want to ask you about. So, and I think this relates directly to housing. Um, what what is you both of you, if you could speak to what your vision is long term for Memorial Drive and how residents will feel that change in their day-to-day lives?
The Memorial Drive, I think me and Madam CEO both agree that that is the heartbeat of the county. And we really need to be putting our effort into revitalizing it. And you can start seeing, you've seen some efforts happen, and we're still working on it. My long range vision is to see a lot of redevelopment along Memorial Drives. We need some mixed use. We need grocery stores, services, and just I we earlier this year, we've done a lot on the BOC this year. We've been really active, but along with administration, we purchased the tax commissioner's property, which we had been leasing. I didn't realize this. Yes, clap for that because that was amazing. We've been leasing that for what, $1 million a year for like 20 years. So
20,
just that
28,
one
28,
28 years? 28
28, we had spent, just because I'm a walking wealth of numbers, we had spent 17.7 million in rent. We had spent 8.1 million in capital improvements on a building that we didn't own.
that we didn't own.
And although we controlled taxes, we had agreed to pay the taxes too in the original lease. So, I mean, how many body blows can you absorb? So we had spent over $28 million in 28 years renting a building that we didn't own.
Right. So that
So,
purchase just not only making financial sense for the county, and I think you're going to see us doing that more often, owning the property that we're in and that we're controlling because that's just smart. But that also is 27 acres right at 285 in Memorial Drive that now we have complete control over and can work on have a plan to revitalize it to include government services. But I do think government services there is important. But we can, the sky's the limit on what we can plan into that space. And then that's a catalyst for the entire corridor as we're moving down. So my district is pretty much from tax commissioners towards the east, towards the end of Memorial Drive. So that's a great catalyst, is redoing that intersection and then systematically moving down the street, working with developers and trying to revitalize and redevelop. There's so many parcels along Memorial Drive that are ripe for redevelopment and developing them smartly to what the constituents need. And we've lost a lot of drugstores in the area. We're a food desert with the lack of grocery stores. So we need to be strategic on working to bring those services to the corridor.
yes, and let me say that I often call the divide between North and South DeKalb Memorial Drive, and it is the Mason-Dixon line between the North and South. When you cross over, you're headed north, you're now in North DeKalb. Um, and I'm very excited, you know. Let me say that Commissioner Johnson and I both share the vision. We understand that we need catalytic projects. And that's why purchase, and I'm so grateful that it was also a unanimous vote to purchase 4380 Memorial Drive, because honestly, before I was elected, I had believed all my life, my DeKalb life, that we owned the building. Um, because it was used by the county for so long. And now we are looking at and beginning the conversations on what to do. Um, we are seeing, and thanks to leadership, we are seeing a lot of development along the corridor because of the transit-oriented development that just happened in Kensington. I believe there was about 250 units that we worked with MARTA. And right now we are calling in everything that we're doing. There were agreements for development that occurred 20 years ago that have not happened. So we are calling in those transit-oriented projects, and around our MARTA stations, our goal is to create mixed-use communities. Because one of the reasons the South has not grown in the way that it should or can is because of transportation. We plan simply because of how our MARTA rail runs and where it ends, we have to create livable centers at those intersections that house hundreds of people. It's the best place on earth for mixed use development. So there's a lot of great development going on in your district, District 3 for you, 4,
It's just
District
for
4, District 4. And I expect to continue to see it, particularly along Memorial. That's where we have to concentrate. And with the acquisition of 4380, it puts us in a wonderful position, and we have great plans coming there.
yes.
I I wanted to ask you all really briefly before we move on to watershed, youth development, and new Americans. Just while we're on the topic of infrastructure, could you both real briefly touch on the real-time crime center and how that might affect daily life for our residents in terms of making our neighborhoods safer?
This was an exciting one that, again, a unanimous vote to approve it is a big investment over the next 10 years. And I won't steal Madam CEO's thunder, but I'm very excited to see this happening and I'm glad to be a part of it. So, Madam CEO, I'll let you share.
Many of you may know that I wrote the Cobb County Video Surveillance System ordinance. And when I wrote it, back then I was watching in Detroit Project Greenlight and other programs that integrated FUSIS as well as flock technology to monitor in real time to cut down on crime. And in the metro region, the city of Atlanta was the very first to roll out a real-time crime center. And currently in the county, both Dunwoody as well as Brookhaven have real-time crime centers. So I included 2 million to build out our first real-time crime center. Well, that's to get it built and to give us basic technology. But a large part of the key to, Commissioner Johnson and I seeing the change that is necessary, some parts of DeKalb, our crime scores are so high that we have businesses who cannot receive personal injury insurance. And that affects economic development. So I'm fighting against myself because I've got to lower crime in terms of our recruitment. It is up over 100% in terms of police officers. But I want everybody watching to know change is still slow because once we recruit you, you have 26 weeks of training before we put you on the street. So there's 6 months of training. So graduating in 150 to 200 officers a year is monumental. But with that being said, just last week, the Board of Commissioners unanimously passed again an $18.9 million
Over 10 years.
over 10 years, over a 10-year period, which is honestly, we believe, the largest single investment approved at one time by a Board of Commissioners governing authority in the state of Georgia. But with that, it's going to give us over 300 flock cameras. It also gives us a substantial inventory of drones because we will roll out what's called drone first responder. We all know what traffic is like. It's increasingly difficult for officers, especially if you don't have as many on the street as you need to get to locations. But through the strategic placement of drones, it's our intent to never be more than 2 to 3 minutes away from any location. So if you commit a crime, we're going to have eyes on you immediately. We have made substantial investments and it is bringing us where we need to be because other jurisdictions are doing this. It's just time we do it.
I think the other exciting piece to that too is it's also going to provide for civilian jobs. Some of those analysts who are watching the cameras, they don't have to be sworn officers. So it's job creation. And, I was just mentioning that we've lost a lot of drugstores and grocery stores in District 4. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but a lot of times they claim it's because of crime. So this is an investment in workforce, it's an investment in infrastructure, and it's an investment in economic development as well as public safety. So I'm here for it. I think this is really going to put the CAB PD on the map even more than it already was. Like she
Mhm.
mentioned, recruitment is up under interim chief Pedrick, who I think is doing an amazing job. And he is well respected in his industry, and people who have left the CAB as officers are also coming back.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's a good time for us right now, and especially in the CAB police.
That's
Yes,
great.
and I actually did the mayor between the 2 million on the real time crime center, the 18 million over a 10-year period for our flock and drone technology, and the 10 million restructuring of in-house funds. Drum roll, since September 30th and taking office January 2nd, this board of commissioners has invested $30.9 million in public safety, and it was overdue. And also another very important element of this is crime is fought in a jurisdictional manner. Now this allows other jurisdictions like the city of Atlanta and surrounding jurisdictions, we can actually share in real time technology that immediately now, if this person crosses from one jurisdiction to another, the eyes are on them. But we've
Yeah.
not had that technology. So that is another very important fact of what we're seeing here with with our real time crime technology center.
Well, that's very informative and really exciting to see what an investment's been made in that area for making our county safer for everyday residents like myself. Um, so now I want to transition to watershed improvements. So we know water leaks seem to be a significant factor in high water bills. Would you both be able to comment on that issue and provide your thoughts on the legislation that Commissioner Johnson has introduced to hold landlords accountable to fix those leaks?
Yeah.
It,
So
yes, I'm going to defer to you first because I love your legislation. I strongly support that.
oh, thank you, Madam CEO. So this actually came out of a conversation that me and Chief of Staff Felicia Brooks was having with the Water Utility Service Department after we had already passed the 10 by 10 and the water protection regulations that we put in place earlier this year, and having that conversation with the experts who are dealing with water bills every day, they brought to our attention that there's still one area that we had not addressed and it's still a problem. And those are if a leak is occurring at a rental home, the county can work with the renter who has the utility in their name and bring down their water bills and work with them to make that affordable. But the renter does not have the authority to actually fix the leak.
Yeah.
Right, to make the repair. So that is on the landlord to make those repairs. And probably majority of the landlords, this is not going to be a problem, but you're always going to have bad actors out there who are like, hey, that bill is not in my name. It's not coming to me. I'm not going to spend the expense to make the repair. So my legislation that we're working on is to strengthen the teeth that we can have as a county to go after those type of landlords, to either put a lien on the house, some type of additional tax on the house, so that we can go in and make the repairs on behalf of the renters who are our utility customers, but then also become whole by the landlords and the property owners. And I think it also is, we are also wanting to do this because I think legislation last year actually reduced some protections for renters, where previously they could have went like, well, I'll make the repair, but I'm going to take it out my rent. That they no longer really have that option. So you can seriously get in a situation where that bill never really comes down for those renters because they can't make the repairs. And I'm really excited to start working on this, and I think it can really make a difference for our constituents.
It does. And I say it does because it creates mandatory accountability. And, often one of my favorite sayings is we can't legislate morality and decency. And some landlords, just plain and simply, are so economic driven that they will not spend money that's necessary for capital improvements to their own property, you know? So when you find people who are that way, motivating them or holding them to the fire and a requirement is really important. And to be honest, what I'm seeing sitting where I sit now is we're transitioning somewhat. And I say we're transitioning because your legislation is important, but every month I receive a list of water disputes, and usually water disputes is the result of some form of water leak where they're saying, oh, this bill is too high and it shouldn't be. But we've only been averaging on a monthly basis about 11 or so disputes per month. And when you look at 2,200, no, 222,000 ratepayers, that ain't a lot. So I will say that over past several years, we have invested since going into that consent decree, which requires us to expand, replace, and enlarge infrastructure. We have invested over $2 billion. So we are remediating conditions in poor infrastructure but the truth still remains that in some parts of DeKalb, we still have clay / terracotta pipes.
Yeah.
So we have a Herculean task, and that 10 by 10 that we pass gets us where we needed to be. Because it's really important. We have to upgrade our water infrastructure. And I'm thankful to the residents of DeKalb for understanding and hearing when we put the facts forward. For the record, the average water bill in DeKalb County is $62. At my house, we're empty nesters. We hit about 42 a month.
Yeah, me
If
too.
you look at the jurisdiction, if you look at the jurisdiction, DeKalb County is far lower for water rates than any of the surrounding jurisdictions. And the truth of the matter is, over the years, we've not gradually increased the rates as we should. And also, I have to take this opportunity to say that, we are not here to work counter to community, but everyone does have to pay their utilities. Um, and over the years, some is caused by problems, some is plain and simply caused by individuals who just did not pay their water bill. We have over 300 million that is uncollected. And I'm not looking to go out there just knocking on doors, but at some point we have to stop and move forward.
Yeah, I agree. Madam CEO, how has it been going with the Urban League? Have you gotten updates on that yet?
Oh,
Sorry.
absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up. And for people who are watching, we have the Water Rate Assurance Program. We call it RIP. And with RAP, because we hear you, we want to make sure that with the necessity of increasing water rates, it didn't cause a hardship for anyone. So
Right.
what we looked at were current HUD guidelines and other programs across the United States. And we ultimately did meet HUD regulations that set the AMI, area median income, and it was based on the individuals in the household, number of individuals. And it has been going wonderfully. I received, a weekly report, and believe it or not, and this is not something that I sort of expected at looking at the numbers, but overall, because our rates were so low already, um, we were far below the national average. But for individuals who reach out, we work with them, and it really doesn't matter what your issues are. All we need is the commitment. If there's a hardship, then we are not here to go out there shutting off water. We're here to work with you. And I also want to point out, we also have DeKalb Cares, which helps individuals in residential communities who need to repair their water infrastructure. We provide grants and stipends, but it is based on your income, because what we find is people that have sensitive incomes, don't engage in water remediation repair because it can be costly. And we don't want you to lose water because you can't afford to pay. So definitely reach out to us. And thank you to Nancy Flake Johnson and the Urban League of Greater Atlanta for managing the program. And I'm so proud to say that since the implementation, I've probably received 3 letters from individuals saying, well, I didn't get a call back immediately, but we are hitting all of our targets within, generally 3 to 5 hours. We've taken all the paperwork and processed within 72 hours.
Those are good targets.
So I know one of Commissioner Johnson's focus areas is making sure that new Americans feel supported, integrated into county government. So do you all want to talk about efforts to recruit members from diverse communities to serve on board of commissions, or even employment job fairs, things along those lines? That what's kind of in the works right now?
So I'll start. We're definitely in District 4. I still have some vacancies on some of my committees, and we are trying to recruit our new Americans or immigrant communities to add their voices to those committees, specifically community council, which can weigh in on zoning and planning issues. And since District 4 includes Clarkston, which is, the most diverse city per square mile in America, we need to make sure that we are having a diverse voice from all of our constituents and making sure they have a seat at the table. So we're still working to get them plugged into some of these critical positions. But part of what we do is, Madam CEO, we're at multiple events together within different communities, different religious communities. So, collectively, we are trying to make sure that everyone knows that we are truly one DeKalb and everyone is welcome here.
Yeah. And honestly, Commissioner Johnson, I couldn't say it better. But I will touch also on the fact, and we both recognize this, when it comes to certain immigrant and refugee communities, I've always been very sensitive there because what you find is there is a difference in community structure. And when I say that there are leaders, there are seats within the community, there are certain advocates. And by and large, if you're not touching them, you're not touching the community because they are that voice. Because often there's language barriers, there's cultural barriers. And we have been very intentional about identifying leaders within our diverse communities and making sure that they carry the message. Also advertising across platforms and in different languages is one thing that the office has done. And also going into communities on procurement, because I want to be clear in saying that I want to see everyone represented. So in our Ethiopian community, as well as the Indian community, we've done procurement seminars, and anyone watching can reach out. If you want to organize, also at the Latin American Association, I held an event there for procurement and housing. So we will bring in our team from procurement, and that's where business is done. And we will walk you through, you bring your laptop, how to register your business for procurement opportunities in DeKalb. And when you leave, you're now in the system and you're just waiting for notification of RFPs, requests for proposals, and requests for quotes. Because I want to see that pipeline extend beyond, many of the traditional folk. Also, I'd love to get to the point where we're implementing a welcoming DeKalb type program. So I do have a noble vision that I'm not going to go into right now because we have to see how federal funding goes, because a lot of this requires the money. Because, Commissioner Johnson, you are the commissioner over the most diverse square mile in America when it
Yeah.
comes to Clarkston in that area. And we talk about it, but I haven't seen us truly harness what that looks like. So I would love to ultimately see a particular development take place that really unifies and brings together that diversity in a different way.
Yeah, I agree. It is definitely one of the focus areas that I feel like I haven't had as much success so far, but it is also such an important focus area because we're America, we're a melting pot. Like, that's what we're built on. That's what I believe. And everyone is welcome here. Everyone needs to do their part. Everyone's welcome. And being that commissioner, it is important to me that I'm hearing from all the diverse voices in my community. So it is something that we're still really working to make sure that we're getting it right.
100%. I believe that a community that includes all of us is better for everybody. All ships rise when that happens. So, um, okay, so one or two quick takeaways for DeKalb residents, and I know we're almost at the hour here, so I'm cutting it close here, but I think people would really love to hear just one or two things they can kind of keep in their pocket and remember about the future of DeKalb County.
The future of DeKalb County is bright. It's strong. We have an amazing new board of commissioners, new CEO, a lot of new faces in administration, but I think we have a lot of good players who are willing to get the work done. We're listening to our constituents and we're putting our money where our mouth is and making sure that we are really honing in on that whole vision of a one DeKalb, a stronger DeKalb, a brighter DeKalb. We're engineering progress for DeKalb. Those are the things that we're doing. So that's my big takeaway. I had to plug that one, sorry.
Awesome. No, I love it. Love it.
And I love because Commissioner Johnson is an engineer, she engineering DeKalb.
Yeah.
And, on that accord, I just want to say to everyone, I hope you can feel the energy and welcome to the new DeKalb. This is a DeKalb where we are proud to represent you. I am proud every day to get up and be here at about 6:50 every morning to see the sun rise over the opportunity that I've been given. I take great pride in wanting the best for us. And I also understand that it is time that we are strategic because for some communities, change is so long overdue. And I just want to say, please give us support, give us time, but also give us your talent because this is bigger than elected officials. I need community advocates. We have to work together because DeKalb County is a big ship and we are turning. And our best years are definitely yet to come. Watch us work. We're putting the money where it needs to be. And believe me, you will see outcome. So thank you all for the support. Thank you for the platform.
Yes, thank you for
I'm
being here.
honored to have been the first guest on Chicago's Corner.
Yeah, thank you
Beautiful.
so much.
What a great note to end on. Madam CEO, thanks so much for joining us. And Commissioner Johnson, you want to take us out by letting us know how people can find us or reach you in particular?
So to reach me, I have a simplified email. Thank you to our IT department. You can email me at shakira@dekalbcountyga.gov. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram under the handle at Commissioner Chakira Johnson or on Blue Sky or X as at Commissioner CJJ. And we did launch our new website, commissionershakirajohnson.com. So also, if you're listening, watching this on YouTube, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you find this podcast helpful and you want to know when a new podcast is released, remember to hit the bell icon so you can receive notifications in the future. And again, I just appreciate everyone tuning in. I appreciate you, Madam CEO, and to our new host, Mr. Matt Shedd. Thank you guys so much. And just really appreciate you guys being a part of letting this vision of a podcast for District 4 come to life.
Awesome. I love it. And as I'll speak as a resident of DeKalb County, I learned a lot today. And so I'm sure lots of people tuning in will feel the same way. So, anyways, thank you both again and look forward to next time.